What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to another Warframe video. I think the Regal Aya situation has simmered down enough we can actually talk about the game again. So let's get into it by talking about one of the best items added with the most recent hotfix. It's going to be the new Augment for Lavos, which actually is amazing. It's really, really good. It's called Swift Bite, and this one's going to come from the Syndicates. You got New Loka and I think Red Veil have this available to them. It will be for Lavos' first ability. If you want to see some Lavos build guides, we've got plenty on the channel. We'll do a quick refresher on how this is going to affect him and how, this will work in his kit. So, what Swift Bite will do? Well, first off, let's just go over what Lavos' first ability is. So, remember, his first ability is, I call it Snake Slap. It's called Ophidian Bite. You put the snakes down, it makes a damaging area. Oh, not damaging area. You do one burst of damage, but that damage is toxin damage, so it technically will cause some damage over time. Don't forget that you can actually hold down the buttons. So if you hold down Lavos' first ability, Ophidian Bite, it makes Toxin that will be imbued on your next ability. You can go even further and imbue another element. So let's use his third ability, Transmutation Probe. We've combined Toxin and Electric into Corrosive. So now our first ability will deal corrosive damage. And that's going to work for many different things. Alright, so with that in mind, what Ophidian Bite will do. Now, remember, Lavos does not have energy. Lavos, instead of energy, Lavos' abilities have cooldowns. That does also apply to the Helminth abilities. So, I've subsumed Ensnare on my Lavos. Ensnare has a cooldown when used by Lavos. There is no energy cost. What this will do is when you hit 4 enemies with your first ability, Ophidian Bite, it will reduce your ability cooldowns by 4 seconds. That 4 seconds can be increased by ability efficiency. So if you are using this augment, I would recommend modding for efficiency in some way, at least one mod slot. That's going to reduce your cooldowns if you hit 4 enemies with that ability. So as long as there's a couple enemies next to each other, 4, you will get this cooldown reduction. It additionally will give you 30% increased range only on Ophidian Bite. So let's see how this works in practice. So we use Lavos' fourth ability, the Catalyze. It normally has a 30-second cooldown after the drones reach the end of their path. 30 seconds right there. Normally, how you'd reduce the cooldown of this is you would use Lavos' third ability, Transmutation Probe, to hit enemies, giving you cooldown reduction per enemy hit. So we hit all those enemies, it's pretty much entirely back. But the big problem with Lavos in the past was the cooldown of Transmutation Probe. The third ability for Lavos is what reduces your other cooldowns, but there was no way in the entire game to reduce the cooldown of Lavos' Transmutation Probe. That's why Swift Bite is a top-tier augment, especially if you're doing survivals or like high-density missions with lots of enemies. This mod is a staple for Lavos. So watch this. We can use our 4, whatever, long cooldown, throw out our 3, it's back, but now our 3 is on a cooldown. We use our 1, Ophidian Bite, the cooldown's been reduced to about 2 seconds, and we can use our 4 again, and just keep rinsing and repeating. As long as there's enemies around, we can spam. So, and if you have enough cooldown reduction, you can spam really hard. So, good luck ever not casting abilities. Like, as you can see, the 4 is basically going at max speed. I'm pressing the buttons as fast as possible. I'm surprised these guys aren't dead. Now, remember, Lavos' fourth ability has Condition Overload built into it. It's actually the old skill of Condition Overload as well, so it hits really, really hard if you do things right. So, you can nuke down enemies. You're using something like the Cedo, Lavos' signature shotgun. That will proc lots of statuses for you. You can actually take care of huge groups of enemies that are actually Steel Path and all that kind of stuff. So, melting them down. We could technically imbue Corrosive on our pass or on our 4 there to do even more damage. But yeah, I definitely recommend this to you. Now, keep in mind, you could definitely form this a little bit differently. What we've got here is we've got a build. I like to usually run more range. So here's my normal Lavos build right here, or one of my normal Lavos builds. As you can see, higher strength, higher range. We don't really care about efficiency, got a little bit on there. That's just because what efficiency does in Lavos, yeah, he has no energy pool, but what this will do is it will give you more cooldown per enemy hit with the 3 and with the 1. So with Fleeting Expertise maxed out, we get 6.4 second cooldown on all abilities, ability reduction, or cooldown reduction on all abilities when we hit 4 enemies. And that feeds into Transmutation Probe very well. It's a 10-second cooldown normally. You hit 4 enemies, it goes down to like 3 seconds. The amount of time it takes to get through these cast animations is probably going to be about 3 seconds. And keep in mind, if you were to go like max efficiency, which is another couple percent, it's not going to be a huge payoff. So I'd say as far as mod slots are concerned, just use one mod slot on Fleeting Expertise. You could try like maybe to go with both. Let's see what the cooldown reduction is looking like now. So then it becomes 2.63 second reduction per enemy hit with Transmutation Probe, and it's going to be 7 seconds for Ophidian Bite. You will literally be able to spam it constantly, which you already could with our build. So I'd say it's more worth the slot to have some more health, as Lavos is not very good at shield getting at all. So that's because he has no energy pool. You can't use Augur mods on Lavos to get shield back just because you're not spending energy to get anything. So that's not how it works. All right, going to be a shorter one today. We've got some Steel Path gameplay here. I'd say, like, as a person that's always liked Lavos, this is exactly what Lavos is missing. And I can tell that someone that actually plays the game made this augment. Unlike some of the other augments that came with this update that aren't really that hot, and I'm just going to go ahead and say I don't like the Trinity augment at all. It only works on Trinity. I don't know. I don't like it. But this one's good. This is a mod that I'll definitely be using on Lavos. This feels like an old augment. You know, one like that's actually like fun, does something interesting, does something powerful, has no random downsides. And, you know, it actually feels like it would be worth a mod slot. Now, of course, it would be nice if Lavos 1 did this at base, and what this mod would do is, like, give Condition Overload to Lavos 1 or something like that. But it is what it is. This is what we got here, and it does work pretty well. You know, Lavos 1 is an ability you will be using quite often if you're on the Steel Path, as it will provide a pretty hefty heal to make it where Lavos' very large health pool at base is just, you know, getting filled back up. Got a good amount of armor to back up that health as well, so Lavos is a pretty good entry-level Steel Path frame as far as I'm concerned. I've recommended Lavos on the Steel Path many times, especially if you have Lavos' signature shotgun, the Cedo. It's a really, really good combination. The video we have from before with Lavos, Cedo, Stropha, and Ensnare, highly recommend it. And yeah, really, really good stuff. As far as other builds you could go for, I went really hard into the efficiency route with that maxed out fleeing expertise. It actually made our duration 85%. And something you want to remember on Lavos is that Lavos' ability duration stat actually affects his weapons too. So if you have negative ability duration on Lavos, your heat procs will last less time. Your slash procs will last less time. Your viral procs, etc., etc. We've got 85% duration. It feels exactly the same as normal, to be honest. You could technically, like, you know, maybe max out your prime continuity to go to 95% duration, or maybe take off Glider Resolve for a little bit more duration here, and then you won't have any reduced duration. But I'm telling you right now, it does not feel different at all to me. So this is the build I like. I could definitely format some more. Now, the reason I don't have Prime Sure-Footed on here is that Lavos' third ability, Transmutation Probe, the ability of spamming a lot with his playstyle, it actually turns orbs into universal orbs, and it will make you status immune for 10 seconds. So as long as you're just throwing out the Transmutation Probe regularly, any orb you pick up will give you status immunity, which means you don't really need Prime Sure-Footed. But if you still want to run it, be my guest. It's a very, very ability-focused playstyle here, and I do have lots of weapons that are good too. We've currently got the Epitaph, which is, I think, Sevagoth's signature pistol, which will do lots of different procs. So we can get that condition overload on our 4. We've also got the signature shotgun I mentioned earlier from Lavos. Gives you lots and lots of procs. You will kill most things with the Cedo. And as far as a melee, it's whatever you got equipped. I have the Nikana Prime on here just because it's a condition overload Nikana, and it does pretty good slash procs. So I was feeling pretty comfy here. Didn't die the entire mission. We went for about 20 minutes. And the Acolytes. Now, the reason we have Ensnare on here is because Ensnare is actually going to stun Acolytes, make them so they can't fight back against you. It's going to stun enemies and pull them together, so your Transmutation Probe can easily hit lots of enemies. I like them usually have a lot more range, like I said. But I do want to have at least positive strength, a little bit higher than positive strength, to get a big chunk of damage on my 4, and also to you know, give me a bigger heal on my 1, because that stuff does actually add up over the course of a mission. And as far as the companion, we get the Panzer Vulpaphyla. Unfortunately, in the Steel Path, companion survivability is a gigantic joke. It's basically Vulpaphylas or Jin, I think it's called, the infested sentinel that never actually stays fully dead. Those are the only real options. Smita, if you can keep it alive, you're like an Invis frame or a tanky frame to get double Steel Essence. That's pretty much it. I mean, you could mecha bonus, I guess, but have fun reviving that dog all the time, which you probably don't even have mod space for the bleed out increasing timer on the dog because you have so many mecha bonus mods. So I don't know, man. I wish the pet survivability was reworked, but I think that's just, it's not worth their time currently, and there probably will never be a time where they're like, all right, it's finally time. Let's make companion survivability not garbage. I don't think that day will ever come. But yeah, this Lavos mod, you should go get it right now, especially if you're a big Lavos fan. If you're a big Lavos fan, you probably already have this, to be honest. And as a Lavos fan myself, I'm pretty content with what we got here. And yeah, I would highly recommend it to you. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful. I will see you next time. We could go more in depth eventually. If I'm like really digging this in the future still, I'll probably make a new video with potentially an Umbra Forma on Lavos. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't play Lavos enough that I want to put an Umbra Forma on him. But I did put an Umbra Forma on Trinity Prime, so maybe Lavos is more deserving of it than Trinity because of all the health and armor you want to stack on Lavos if you're just trying to be tanky. So I'll talk to you guys next time. Take it easy and peace.